con Marcus Herman. Él es el business manager, él está enfocado 100% en lo que son los teclados. Les va a explicar un poco todo el proceso.
Welcome, thanks for coming. I think Oscar just introduced me. My name is Marcus Herman. I'm responsible for keyboards and mice. I have to say I've never presented with so many cameras pointed at me, but that's fine. I'm here to introduce our first keyboard to you, the HyperX Alloy FPS. You know us probably, I hope so, otherwise you wouldn't be here, as a brand that develops gaming products of high quality. Now you're here to learn about our first keyboard. I'd like to take you on a short journey tonight to explain to you our thought process, why we did that and why we did what we did.
Bueno.
So, HyperX Alloy FPS.
Sí.
So, first of all, I'd like to talk about our history. Part of the reason why we do keyboards is because we've been encouraged by the headsets that you all know, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit. We also created a gaming brand, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit. How did we achieve this? Why are we known and also in some way respected as a gaming brand? Why keyboards? We'll cover this, of course, and then I'll explain to you why we didn't only do keyboards, but why we focus on FPS and CSGO in particular. So, talking about a gaming brand a little bit, how did we achieve that? Now we have 3 different pillars that I'd like to go into briefly. There are products, there are social media, and there are esports. Esports is very, very big for us. We spend an incredible amount of time on the various aspects of esports. So our product you're probably familiar with. Just as a quick reminder, on the left-hand side, from the DRAM to the flash to the SSD, is what we classify as enthusiast products, and I come to that in a second. And on the right-hand side, headset and the mousepad in some respect is what we classify as gaming products. We make that distinction because for us, the gaming products, the typical gamer cares more about the outside, not so much about the inside. So why keyboards? Big question. It's much easier now to answer that question because a few years ago when we did headsets, the surprise was even bigger and people said, what the hell headsets? You know, you're a DRAM company. Now that we've shown we can do peripherals, we're thinking, why not keyboards? And so, why do we do keyboards? There are various reasons. I touched earlier on how we differentiate the enthusiast from the gamer. The way we classify that internally is the enthusiast cares about what's inside of the box, inside of the PC tower, right? So, DRAM, graphic, SSD, motherboard if you like. The hardcore gamer, the guy who is into esports, the guy who spends as much time in front of the PC playing games as the parents allow him or her. For him, the desktop is one thing. It's a button to switch it on. What's on the inside is relatively unimportant. Now, there is the mix of people who care for both, who like to build their PC and who like to play games. But the hardcore gamer technically cares what he can see and feel and touch. So of course that translates into mouse, keyboard, headset, right? And if you think about it, some of the things I talk to you about is we've done, if I can say that, done reasonably well establishing ourselves as a gaming brand. Now don't forget, we did that with one product, headset, right? The other products are important for us, but in terms of gaming products, we feel like we've done it with one product. So if you spend so much time in gaming, if you spend so much time in esports, it's just a logical last step to round out your product portfolio, right? And say, well, what else is there that we don't do? And of course, the first two products are keyboard and mice. So you can guess what comes after keyboard next year. Right? The product itself. So I talked to you about that it's focused on FPS and CSGO. Now, what makes a keyboard FPS or CSGO, you might ask. The people who play CSGO with some sort of seriousness tend to play it, as far as the mouse is concerned, on 400 or 800 DPI. So that in consequence means your mouse cursor moves very little because it helps you to aim, which is, purpose of the game. Because of that, you need to make a lot of whipping movements, and whipping movements take space. So, as a consequence, the more space your mouse has, the less space your keyboard should take up. So as a consequence, if you look at the keyboard, it's a full-size keyboard, but it's really cut where we could cut it. It's as small or as compact as a full-size keyboard can be. But it totally supports every FPS player, be that Counter-Strike or Overwatch or Call of Duty, because it makes you play better by having more space for your mouse. So that's the number one thing that makes it an FPS keyboard. Under the hood, we put Cherry MX switches. Cherry MX switches are by far the most popular, most respected, and I think in terms of quality also the best switches around right now. That's why we put them in there. We also gave it a metal frame. It's mostly iron, but what that does is it makes it a little bit heavy. But heavy in keyboard terms is actually good. We read a lot of reviews of competitive products that go along the lines of I played, I lost, I smashed the keyboard against the wall, I put it back down, it still works, right? That's seen as a good thing. And so that's why we gave it a metal finish, because apart from it being a little bit heavier, it also makes it less likely that it moves, right? And the last thing you want is that your keyboard moves around when you play. It has features, standard features like anti-ghosting and N-key rollover, which I don't intend to turn you into tech support. It basically means you can press as many keys as you want and they'll be registered. It is a single color keyboard. I can already tell you our second keyboard that's due early next year will be an RGB keyboard. This one is a single color keyboard. So what does that mean? It means you have one color as a backlight. For us, of course, red. You have 6 different modes. So from solid to breathing, to explosions, to wave, to custom. You can change that. One big distinction between a single color keyboard and an RGB keyboard is RGB is kind of nice and fancy and it gives you a user interface where you can do everything on screen. With a single color, you do everything on the keyboard. So you press function and whatever the key is to change the different modes. We do ship it with extra accessory keys, so the WASD keys that you, of course, need to move your guy around in the game. And 1, 2, 3, 4 tends to be assigned to changing your weapon. We have some accessory keys in the box in red, so in case you play in the dark or you just need a little bit of help orientating yourself on the keyboard, we put them in red with the WASD on top. They come with texture. The reason why 1, 2, 3, 4 has only color and WASD has texture is 1, 2, 3, 4 you can pick up through your peripheral vision, so you see there's something red. The WASD is further or is closer to you, so your vision won't pick it up. But by giving it texture, you don't even need to look down to look where you're at because you can feel it. Now, the hardcore gamer probably might not need that because they know where they're at all the time anyway, but for the more casual FPS gamer, this is a big help. There's game mode, just to cover that quickly. game mode relates to the Windows key. The Windows key is relatively close to WASD, where you have your left hand. If you hit the Windows key by mistake, you jump back into the start menu or Windows, depending on your setup, which is of course not ideal if you chase another guy around the corner, because by the time you're back, you're probably dead. So game mode simply disables the Windows key and prevents that from happening. We made the keyboard quite mobile. You see the pouch there, but what that means is, as opposed to many other keyboards, we've given it a detachable cord. So that means the cord is fixed, you can take it off. You see part of the pouch here in that picture. So the idea is, if you are mobile with your keyboard, you take it to a friend, you take it to a LAN, you take it to a tournament, rather than wrapping around the cable around your keyboard and either damage the cable or your keys, you can take it off, and that pouch allows you to put the cable in the pouch and transport your product safely. We do have, as opposed to some of our competitors, more regional layouts. So the keyboard that we're going to sell here in Mexico will have Spanish keys on it, just because we want to show we care for every region that we sell the product in. So if you wait long enough, you can buy a North American version if you want, but initially here in Mexico we'll sell the Spanish version. And last but not least, we have a USB port at the back. That's usually the term that is used is USB pass-through. The idea initially was that you connect your mouse or your headset, any USB device that you have. It turns out that a lot of gamers are quite a superstitious group, so they still tend to plug it into the tower rather than the keyboard. Reality is also what the USB port is actually used for is to charge your cell phone or your mobile phone. So if you sit there for 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, at least you have your phone with you, it doesn't run out of juice, and between breaks you can, I don't know, text somebody or whatever you do. So that's what we did. We turned it into a charging point only, because that's what people tend to use it for. So those were some of the features of the keyboard. We're going to close with a short video. It's only a minute or so long, that will show you again the advantages of having a compact size keyboard when you play an FPS game like Counter-Strike. We asked for the help of Sean Gers. He's an ex-Cloud9 player, now he's an Echo Fox. He also helped us somewhat developing this product. And I'll just hand it over to him to educate you for 1 minute about our keyboard. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Sean Gers. I'm the in-game leader for Echo Fox's Counter-Strike Go division, ex-in-game leader for Cloud9. I've been playing CS for almost 15 years now. In-game movement in Counter-Strike at the professional level is one of the most important things, because as an entry fragger, you need to be turning from flashes all the time and whipping back to where the enemies are. The first thing I noticed when I grabbed the HyperX keyboard was the compact size of it. It basically allows you to play at much less of a tilt when you have your keyboard, so you have much better ergonomic position when you play. They kept all of the key features of a large keyboard and made a compact design. The metal backing of the keyboard weights it down to the desk. It does it in a way where the keyboard doesn't shift when you play. Really easy to move around, it's very fluid. An issue when you're using a large keyboard is the amount of mouse space you have. What I've noticed is you end up hitting your thumb on the keyboard. And not only does this hurt, it affects your game mentally for sure. While I was playing today, I didn't feel that with HyperX keyboard, which is something I really enjoyed. As a pro CSGO player, your setup is everything, and you want to maximize your desktop area. HyperX's keyboard that I used today did a great job of doing that. Its compact design and durable body felt great for my setup. I'd highly recommend that you guys go out and check it out.
El producto ya está disponible y el precio en pesos público anda alrededor de 1,900 pesos, alrededor de.